Good afternoon, everybody. So first of all, I would like to thank NLCC, Norwegian Embassy, Ambassador in person, for great opportunity to be here and to present one of the biggest event in DNV research, annual overview of DNV Energy Transition Outlook, this time 2021. Well, actually, I was a little bit confused how to be here on stage where in this section we are talking about data and artificial intelligence and so on. So, but this presentation is not just about energy. It's mainly how data and mathematical modeling could contribute to sustainable development. And actually it's the main message. 10 technologies, sorry to say, this is not exactly name of this presentation, but you will find later about those 10 technologies, so I promise. Of course, I bit in a problem actually to be a last presentation actually before coffee break, so I will try to be fast. But again, the video, as we call it, a teaser video actually, so it showed you a little bit pessimistic mood on what is going on with energy transition and global carbonization and actually global warming. So first of all, what DNV stands for? Actually, DNV is testing, inspection, certification body. And I'm not focusing on services. I rather focus on those 5% of research and development actually DNV contributes to global society. So we are a global company. We are 157 years old. Actually value of what we deliver to the customers and to the society is assurance. We call it assurance and trust. But I think it is very hard to imagine assurance and trust if it's just based on belief, on faith, on some trust. Actually, trust has to be based on data. Trust has to be based on evidence. And we are working very much in this direction. So, Energy Transition Outlook. So it's started in 2017. And it's a global and regional forecast for energy-related issues up to 2050. So each year it's continuously updated. And what are the main highlights this year? So as it was in video, actually COVID recovery spending is a lost opportunity. So another one point is electrification is a major player actually in all energy sectors and in all possibilities to make substantial and economical feasible pathway to greenhouse gas emission reduction. Fossil fuels are very slowly losing this position, and it is just because all the decarbonization of gas, deployment of CCS are very costly now. Fuels needed for hard to abate, hard to avoid sectors like maritime industry, like heavy industry, also very, very slowly actually reaching our markets. So what is our approach? So first of all, it's a best estimate. It is not scenario building. It is not some sort of regression model or probabilistic model. It's a system dynamics based mathematical modeling, and it's a single forecast, not scenarios. And actually, another thing which is very important, we are not considering in our assumptions technologies which are, so to say, hardly possible during those 30 years, like nuclear fusion, for instance, or some So we rely on most probable scenario and most probable dynamics which could happen. And it already has been proved during those few years when we are deploying this model that that is really, really close to the truth. So key assumptions are that the population will be 9.5 billion people in 2050. Economy will be expanding twice. Technologies usually will be cheaper by 26% if doubling installed capacity. And carbon prices will be in the region about $2,100 per ton of CO2 or equivalent. So if we look to the dynamics, so you can clearly see that while GDP is increasing, population is slightly increasing, but primary energy supply is stable, but energy-related CO2 emissions are decreasing by half up to 2050. But as it was told, it is not enough. It's absolutely not enough. And we also consider that COVID recovery spendings, and I was looking through figures worldwide, it's $20 trillion. Governments have been injected into economies in order to recover, so to say, those problems which they have occurred in relation to COVID-19 pandemics. But that was just for recovery. It was not a stimulus for improvement. It was not a stimulus for change. And maybe exception is Europe, but worldwide, actually, we have situation that probably this is a lost opportunity. If we looking to the findings of this energy technology outlook, so if we look to energy demand, so we see that energy demand was slightly decreased in 2020, and it is clear because of COVID. But it will reaching its peaks in 2030 and then remains stable. Why it's so? So this picture explains you that, well, if not efficiencies, activities in all sectors would actually increase global demand in 70% up to 2050, if not structural change and energy efficiency options. And structural change mainly in transport, for instance, electrification of cars, and energy efficiency, well, it's buildings. That is very promising that it's expected that energy demand in 2050, it will be almost the same as we have today. Transport sector key findings. So electrification, actually, it's a main driver for passenger vehicle. But if we are talking about heavy road transport, if we are talking about maritime and aviation, so this decarbonization with hydrogen, synthetic fuels, biofuels, those emissions will increase further up to the point when we are starting to be decreasing. So this curve shows you about efficient electricity in road transport, and it shows that oil consumption is just twice less compared to 2020. But in maritime fuel mix, we have quite different picture because of LNG, specifically LNG approaching to this sector, and low carbon fuels. Aviation is different story. It's hard to imagine electricity in aviation, but still it is coming with drones and some similar technologies. Another sector is building sector. So in this sector, we will have increase of space floor, but we expect also that large efficiency heat pumps and efficiency gains, space heating will reduce energy demand with 70%. And here, electricity share of energy mix will grow from 30 to 50%. Manufacturing sector. So here we have significant improvements in energy efficiency. So energy efficiency in building sector and manufacturing sector are the key words in this way. Also, we predict regional shifts that some production from Greater China will be moved to Indian subcontinent, Sub-Saharan Africa, and South Asia also will grow. And also it is expectation that hydrogen starts replacing coal and gas in high heat processes, like metal production and so on. Electricity. So electricity and renewables are very, very important part of our, so to say, prediction, and global electricity share doubles from 20 almost to 40% in 2015. In this case, solar and wind will dominate in this share, and for that, grid infrastructure also needs significant improvements, like high voltage direct current mesh networks, storage connectivity, and also demand response units. To integrate those very, very variable renewables. So here we see, so to say, most emerging technologies which are consuming electricity or producing heat or energy or transforming energy. So in 2015, the electricity system will be dramatically different than we have today. So 55,000 utility scale photovoltaic plants. Utility scale means 80 megawatts, not less. And we are talking about 20,000 onshore wind farms and 5,000 offshore wind farms. So those are also calculated in to respect that it is not less than 400 megawatts each. And we will have 1.3 billion passenger electric vehicles. So that will be really dramatic change in our future. And here I am talking about global change, not about Europe, not about other regions, but about global change. And energy transition outlook is also available for regions. So you can actually check it. Energy demand mix, which we see, electricity will be quite dominant, and oil, coal reduced very much. But again, as I would like to stress, it is not enough. Also, we have those hard to abate, hard to avoid sectors, and all other sectors actually reduce energy demands by 55%, but those hard abate sectors, reduction will be just 33%, and they will be very dominant in this after 30 years. So those sectors are industrial heat, commercial vehicles, buildings heat, aviation, iron ore production, and maritime. Hydrogen. So unfortunately, what is predicted in this outlook is that hydrogen today is very expensive and inefficient to make it available just now. But it's a future technology, and this chart shows that, let's say, solar wind energy, this horizontal line represents that cost-wise, those technologies are affordable already, solar and wind, and electric vehicles already, let's say 22, 25, where we see that hydrogen as a competing technology will be available just in 2040s or something like that. Oil and gas key findings. Actually, it is quite easy to predict that oil demand is reducing, but gas demand is still, natural gas demand is still at a very high level. Also, we expect that decarbonization of gas will take place, but still it has very, very, very limited possibilities. If we compare those oil, coal, natural gas, so to say, prediction lines, so we can clearly see that coal is dramatically reducing, oil is reducing by its demand, but natural gas, it's quite stable even until 2050. But what we have in 2050, we will have almost equal split between non-fossil and fossil fuel. But again, this is not enough for change which is required by Paris Agreement, so to say, to have this 1.5, so to say, degree budget. It means net zero has to be achieved by 2015. So by 2015, we are very, very far away to achieve net zero. If we are talking about money and about economical possibilities actually to cope with that change, so this graph illustrates that, well, it's quite possible and money are available. Since expenditures for energy are increasing just 4.5%, something like that, during that period until 2015. But if we consider that GDP is increasing, so the fraction of energy expenditures are decreasing from 3% to 1.5% of GDP. So, well, it's not really high fraction of GDP energy sector. So, and possibilities to have influence and to find money, as we already have had discussion today morning, it is quite possible. As I told, 70% of annual greenhouse emissions are coming from energy sector. Global energy-related CO2 emissions likely to be 9% less in 2030 and 45% to 2050, but it is, as we exhaust this 1.5 carbon budget in 2029 and 2 Celsius degrees budget in 2053. So we're heading towards global warming of 2.3 Celsius by 2100, and this is not very good. By fuel, we will have this picture. Okay. This is a graph which represents our emission budget in order to keep global warming in control. So, in order to be informed about that, I just suggest go to DNV site and to get Energy Transition Outlook and to read all these data. So in October this year, we also, DNV is going to publish a pathway to net zero emissions. So, because, well, it's not stated that it's fully impossible to achieve that Paris Agreement. Well, it is possible, but it's challenging. Those publications are available about technology progress report, financing energy transition, and also maritime forecast for 2015. So you can freely download and study if you would like the deep dive. You can also to connect to our data veracity platform and then to make those investigations by data by yourself. And last but not least, DNV was also involved in scenario building for the evolution of Lithuanian power sector, electricity sector for 2020-2015, which is called Raida 2050 project. So you also can download this report and to see what is really related to Lithuanian energy sector at this page. I hope that slides are available, so links are available. So thank you very much.